you have to almost sometimes hit the low spots in your life to realize how critically important that relationship is. I think that's really kind of sums up my deal. You take it for granted when it's there in front of you all the time. You live it, you pray at every meal. That's just became part of your life, not necessarily part of your belief. And then one day you wake up and, you hit a low spot in the road. And I can remember several times where I just stared at the stars and asked why. And I think those are the points in time that really become the part of you that's so critically important to have a successful relationship.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Anchoring Hope podcast. I am your host, David Mansilla. As everybody knows, we're using this place to shine the light in these last days by interviewing people that are willing to testify about their faith in Jesus Christ and how that faith is getting them to where they are right now. Today we have with us Jim Arnold. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. Jim, for the audience, can you give me your full name? Where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Well, my birth name is James Troy Arnold. I live currently in Austin, Texas. I've been here for 46 years. And I'm carrying on the product. My grandfather started our company in 1939. I got out of college in 1976 and went into the business and been here ever since. So that's kind of been my role. We have a real more of, I would call it a distribution business. We do multiple of different things. We sell automotive equipment. They have a chain of auto parts stores. We have a lubricants business. It's pretty extensive. We probably operate in about 2/3 of the state of Texas, out west to Midland and Lubbock, and down into Austin, San Antonio, Laredo, and Houston. And, I've been doing this, like I say, my whole life.
That's amazing. So you said your father started the business in 1939?
My grandfather.
Your grandfather?
1939. I'm third generation. My kids are fourth generation.
So, wow. So are your kids interested in keeping the business going?
Well, they're in it. I don't know if they're interested or not. They better be.
Jim, it takes a lot to have a multi-generational business. And it's very rare the companies that make it to at least 2 or 3 different generations. So it is a true blessing that you're able to 4 generations. It's amazing. I founded my own company 20 years ago. And I have 3 kids. One of my kids still in the business is the director of marketing. And I'm just praying to the Lord that they want to carry the business forward. Because otherwise, all the effort, like setting up a successful business, it takes a lifetime. And it's even harder to actually get your family involved. So they want to move it and grow it, right?
I agree. Totally agree.
So tell me, how did you get involved in the business? Do you have siblings? Like, how did you end up running the family company?
My father, my grandfather, like I say, he started it. So I grew up around him and was always kicking around the edge as a young man. And then when I, excuse me, I gotta hear this, forgive me.
Yeah, no worries.
I got a phone right beside me. So, but anyway, my grandmother just begged me to get in the business, and I'm pretty independent, so I agreed to do it on a couple of conditions, and one of them which was to open up a branch in Austin, which is what I did about 1 year into my endeavor. So my dad was never been in the business per se. He was a Baptist minister until the day he died, and I've kind of after he retired, he kind of started kicking around the edges with me more so to have something to do than anything. But it was a joy to have the time to work with him.
That's amazing. So your dad became a minister all his life, so he was not involved in the business, but you got involved, so you kept it going. That's amazing.
Yes, my younger brother is also a Baptist minister.
Wow, so that's incredible. So tell me about your faith. How did you come to meet the Lord Jesus Christ?
Well, I mean, That's a hard question to ask when you're raised in the house of a Baptist preacher. You didn't really have a lot of choice. And I would tell you that I probably, because of that, never really took it seriously as a young man, because it was just part of my life. I was going to Sunday school. I was going to church. I was going to Wednesday night services. I went to everything there was to be, summer camps, etc. So it really wasn't something you had to choose from. And I think that sometimes could be a detriment. And then when I went off to college, where I could make my own choices, then, there was a gap in time where I thought, wow, I don't have to get up and go to church every Sunday morning. I don't have to go to church on Wednesday night. And then all of a sudden I realized what void there was in my life because of that. And things just kind of turned around for me.
That's amazing. Bible says in the book of Proverbs that if you instruct in the right way a child, even when they are old, they're going to keep on that way, right? They're going to carry forward. And that's exactly what happened to you. But it's also good. I think it's also good to realize that you are able to make your own choice. And, for you was in college, when you had your freedom, you could actually feel the emptiness that not being with the Lord and having a relationship with Him was. And it's important. I mean, I had the pleasure and the privilege to grow up in a Catholic church and a Catholic family, and we were pretty devout Catholics. But then I met the Lord Jesus Christ when I was 16 years old through my now wife. She was my girlfriend back then, and my relationship with Jesus kept growing until I lost my faith because of my desires of the flesh. When I started my own business, it was a traumatic event. I was a corporate employee for 10 years. And I really needed to gain my independence. But when you go from being, a high-level executive in multiple companies, and not even a high-level executive, but, a management person, right? With a good salary and a corner office and all that. And also you want to open your own business and you have no idea where the clients are going to come from and how to grow it and operate it. It takes a lot. So I became a workaholic and I lost my faith because I was so focused on the money, right?
And I think that you have to almost sometimes hit the low spots in your life to realize how critically important that relationship is. I think that's really kind of sums up my deal. You take it for granted when it's there in front of you all the time. You live it, you pray at every meal. That's just became part of your life, not necessarily part of your belief. And then one day you wake up and you hit a low spot in the road. And I can remember several times where I just stared at the stars and asked why. And I think those are the points in time that really become the part of you that's so critically important to have a successful relationship.
That's for sure. And that's exactly what happened to me after I got lost in the business and trying to learn how to grow it. And I started dabbling in self-help, which got me really into a narcissistic environment where I thought I could do everything I wanted to do, until I went right into hell, and in hell the Lord rescued me through the prayers of my wife. So I've been rescued since 3 years ago, and now I'm fully restored, and that's why I'm doing this channel now, because I'm so excited about being with the Lord and serving Him, and my business is thriving now and everything is being restored, and it's a pleasure to know that the Lord never left me, even in my lowest moments, right? Doesn't that happen to you? Right?
I think that's critically important because, I mean, obviously everybody in life goes through trials and tribulations, and everybody in life kind of pushes the envelope, and we're all born sinners and we'll always be sinners, no matter how hard you try. But, the fact of the matter is that, if you consistently or you work, try to put my thoughts into words, but you've got to have faith in the Lord and knowing that He's going to forgive you in whatever you do, as long as you ask for it. And I think that sometimes people push the envelope in that, and myself included, because you get caught up in your business, that becomes the driver in your life, not the relationship, and that's sometimes you really got to find that balance, and it's hard to do in today's world, extremely hard to do in today's world.
Yeah, you get pulled by every single direction, and I don't know about you, but this business seems to get harder and harder every time, right?
Every day.
Right? Every day gets harder. The competition is bigger, and the social and economic environment gets harder. Now we're facing a war with in the Middle East, and it's very soon we're gonna get involved in that, and the markets are reacting, right? So there's always something that tries to pull you away from the presence of the Lord, and it's not easy.
I'm looking at your background and seeing the Star of David there on that flag, and I think about the poor people of Israel today, and my parents. I was never fortunate enough to go to the Holy Land. My parents did. I mean, probably the most moving thing they ever did in their lives. And I was fortunate enough to go to Normandy Beach and look at that beach and look at all the cemetery and the crosses and the sacrifices that people have made. It's all because of what? And if we were to all follow the same path in life, none of this would be. And it shouldn't be. And it's really, and I even take it as far as our own political positions today. I'm just struggling to understand what people are seeing and doing as this thing gets more complicated, more controversial, and the vision gets wider. I mean, it's got to, you almost look at it and say, there's got to be a final day of reckoning at some point if something doesn't change.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in your business life, Jim, what has been some of the hardest problems you had to overcome, and how were you able to get out of it?
Well, I mean, we do a lot of different things in a lot of different markets. We work in the oil field, we work in the local communities and in the car dealerships and installer shops, and our equipment business is pretty expansive. We do a lot of stuff for a lot of people. What's the hardest? I think, business is so cyclical. When one piece of our business is really doing well, there'll be another piece that's struggling for one reason or another. It might be collection of bad debts. It might be bad decisions. It might be a legal matter, maybe potentially. I mean, hopefully not. It happens. And today the lawyers rule the world. I hate to say it that way, but they do. And that when you put 200 trucks on the road every day, it's a pretty big exposure. But I think all that is all equally critical, because it's just the economics of business today are struggling, and I don't think there's an easy one. I don't think there's an easy business out there anymore.
That's for sure, and that's when faith comes in harder, right? Like these last 3 years, like I said, once I got rescued from hell, I had to face the downfall of my business, and the Lord was teaching me that He was the one that provided, not my company per se. But after I learned the lesson, the company started to pick up again and grow and grow and grow, and we're growing, but we are seeing that the returns are diminishing. So your net profitability is getting smaller, and with that, you have to be very careful with your expenditures, and you have to think in the future. It's like, what's going to happen, right? That's why I admire companies like yours. If you have been there since 1939, do you know that most companies go bankrupt within 2 years?
I know that. Don't put a jinx on me, please.
No, you won't. No, it's amazing that you have been able to go this way. And I bet the company that you run now is not the same company that you run when you started it, right?
Not even. My grandfather took a snapshot of this business today. He would say, "You're out of your mind."
But what did you do? Did you improve the business? Did you expand it? How did you get the business, and what is it now?
I worked in Corpus for 9 months with my grandfather and my uncle. And then I came to Austin and opened up from scratch.
From scratch?
I used their checkbook, but I did all the work.
Wow. How did that turn out?
And today we have over 40 locations and somewhere short of 500 people.
That's beautiful. And you are the CEO of the whole operation?
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be also impressive. I mean, like when another thing that I had to learn from the Lord is that I felt very responsible for every employee that works with us. and their families, which I still do. But ultimately, I realize that it's also the Lord providing for them, because the burden is great, especially when you have to downsize, right?
Well, I've said so many times, probably the biggest challenge I face is the fact that every decision I make affects 500 families, and that's a big one to swallow.
That's for sure, and that's why. And it's how do you do your decision making? What do you have a process on what we have to sit down and decide and think, and how does that work for you?
Well, it just depends on the situation. I mean, there's situations where you got to make a decision, and I just make a decision based on experience. There's decisions that are more long term that, I get counsel with general managers and my children, and we discuss the opportunities, we discuss the challenges, we discuss the hurdle we got to clear, and then we make a decision accordingly. So it just depends on the decision and what the topic is and how big it is.
That's beautiful. So your children are involved in the business already?
Both of them are, yeah.
You're so blessed. So it's going to keep going then. Are you a grandpa already?
So
Are you a grandfather already?
my grandpa, my what?
Are you a grandpa already?
Oh yeah, I've got 2 grandkids.
Oh, there you go.
We'll see how mean they are.
So Jim, what's in the future for you?
What?
What's in the future for you?
I didn't understand you.
What would you like to do 5 years from now?
I can let you know. All I've ever done in my life is work. I'm a big outdoorsman, a big conservationist. I love the mountains. I love the wild game. I've got a ranch in South Texas. I love my cows and my horses, and I love the mountains. I've got a place in Colorado. I love to ski. So, down the road, I think that more relaxed time, but probably not in the near future. I'm 72, so we'll see how much more runway I got left in me.
For sure. I mean, a lot of people by your age will be already retired, so I can tell that you love what you do, right?
I'm a Clint Eastwood believer. Don't let the old man in.
That's amazing. Jim, I know you're a very busy executive, and I thank you for your valuable time. I don't want to take it too long. I know that you're busy. I'll like to ask you one last question before we finish the podcast.
Sure.
If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write on it?
Well, I would just, and you got to explain to me what you're looking for there. But, if I would have tried to explain my life, I think I would just be so thankful that I've been blessed to have so many opportunities, not only to accomplish a lot and have some self-satisfaction, but certainly the people I've met and the influences they've had on my life. I've been blessed to meet people from all walks of life, from the sporting world to the Washington, D.C. world. Just a lot of very influential people that were very motivational, very, it helped me along the way. Just being with them and watching them and trying to see how they operate and how they do and the way they lead their lives. I think, of course, I look back on my life and I think, a lot of mine is, and I wished I lived as good a life as my father did, but he was very, very influential in my life. And I think I'd go back and say thanks to my parents if I were going to just put one big billboard up and say thanks for the path they set me on so many years ago. And then I would certainly say thanks to the Lord for forgiving me for all the times I've stumbled and fallen. That's been more times than I'd care to think about. I'd really rather not relive those, but I think that's something I do every morning and every night. And I give thanks and say my prayers and just pray that He gives me one more opportunity to get it right.
That's beautiful, Jim. I think your Bible will be great. Just be thankful. Actually, the Bible says, be thankful, especially, I remember this verse that says, don't be stressed. Don't be depressed for what's going on, what you're going on, but be in prayer and supplication, be thankful for what you're going through. And the peace of the Lord will be with you through Jesus Christ.
You got to believe that.
And that's Ephesians 4:6. And I read at least once a day. I read that verse because life is full of problems, but it's also full of blessings. And most of the times is you have that divine intervention, pulling you out of trouble or getting you back in trouble so you learn another lesson. So if you find yourself to be grateful for the good times and the bad times, what you're going to have is peace, which is the only thing that Lord Jesus Christ promised us, right? He said, you're going to have trouble in this world, but at the end, if you abide in me, I will give you the peace and joy that transcends all understanding, right?
Now, oversimplified, I've got a big picture on my wall that said, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn.
That's true. That's a beautiful advice, right?
It's great advice. And I think that applies to every piece of life, whether it's, personal relationships, your relationship with God, your work in your businesses. Everything we do, we have the opportunity to not make that turn. And I think that's one that probably had a big impact on me.
That's true, Jim. Especially in my business, I can tell you that I would have been bankrupt 3-4 times if I didn't take that turn, because I saw the dead end, but then I pivoted and everything started going in the right direction again.
As we get older and our friends and family members start calling away, and you start really reflecting on what life's really all about, and maybe sometimes we get our priorities all set in the wrong place. So I know I have.
For sure. Jim, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I hope the best for you and your children, and I hope that your grandchildren keeps going on with this business.
Well, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what they want to do. Best of luck to you.
Thanks so much, Jim. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching another episode of Anchoring Hope, where we're shining the light in these last days and hoping for the best, because the best is in the Bible. Please share this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also check other social media for more content. And as always, remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and I love you too.